Hello, beautiful people. In this video, we continue on with the book titled 3 Magic Words by U.S. Andersen. If you are new to my channel and found us at this video, a big warm welcome. And you, my subscriber, welcome back. Hopefully you are enjoying this particular book because it is one of my favorites. Before I get started on this next chapter that's coming up, I'd like to recap my points from the previous chapter, which was beautiful. It was titled Love, and there were many important highlights as it helps dissolve different preconceived ideas and notions of love and sexuality. I agree with the author that love is the underlying unity of the universe, and that love is God. Throughout my life and the different careers that I've held, especially during the time when I was a deputy sheriff in Dade County, Florida, probably the cause of everything that we see happening in our world is from a basis of unfulfilled love. Like the author said, fear and hate are reactions to frustrated love. Could you imagine when we can approach everything from a point of love? How different could this life be? I also was thinking in his section where he was talking about sex is life expressing love. In there he makes a statement about that no human being can truly love another unless he first knows of the love of God. And if we go with the premise that the divine spark of light is within us, this God light is within us, and our whole purpose here is to get reacquainted and experience this God divinity in us, then wouldn't it be rightfully so that the first love that we need to embrace is the love of ourselves? And as we become aware of loving ourselves, then we can reflect and love others. And perhaps when we sense in someone that there is lack of love, it probably is an opportunity for ourselves to find it within us to emanate more love into the world. Just thinking, right? There were other great sections such as the one on trusting love, and then also sexuality and love really gives us an opportunity to think about how that relates to us in our personal lives. But the biggest takeaway was the opportunity to reflect on love and to see how in my life I have been witness to the power of love to overcome fear, the power of love to overcome hate. And as I continue in the winter years of my life, that I can now demonstrate with an awareness and a mindfulness how important it is for me to focus on that vibration of love and transmit it in thought and deed. Well, my dear one, I will now go ahead and move on to our next chapter titled Success. Follow the light that illumines thy soul, nor fear if thy steps seem to plod. A man ever gains his most cherished goal when he giveth his work up to God. Money, a medium of exchange. Success is a constant vision in the mind of modern man, who envisages it always as a pinnacle of wealth where he sees himself surrounded by large homes, motor cars, yachts, servants, trips abroad, and plenty of time to enjoy himself. What obtains these things? Asks modern man, and he answers quickly, money. So off he sets with his battle cry ringing, make money! It is little wonder that from this absurdly false premise he scarcely is able to obtain enough to pay his bills. The only people who make money are those employed in the various governmental minting houses. The rest of us earn it. We earn it by providing our fellow beings with services or products which are both needful and useful. Our fellows make a like effort in our behalf. We exchange goods and services. Since it would be extremely difficult for a man to carry a steer to Detroit to exchange for an automobile, money has been devised to represent both of them. We go through our days exchanging our services for the services of our fellows, and the exchange of money represents nothing more than the exchange of services. Success is not the result of making money. Making money is a result of success. And success is always the fulfillment of the individual in productive effort that betters the welfare of mankind. Modern man has got the cart before the horse. He sets out to make money when in truth he should set out to be of service. Create, build, serve. Those are the commands of nature. Follow them and you will find there is no limit to the prosperity and abundance of the universe. He who sets out simply to make money sets out to accumulate money. Since acquisitiveness provides no noticeable service to mankind, our incipient moneymaker has defeated himself at the start. This is not to say that he may not, for some period of time, actually accumulate a certain amount of money, but he is certain not to be surrounded indefinitely with prosperity, for his premise is not to give but to get, and the law of mutual exchange will catch him sooner or later and exact the utmost farthing of his getting. Money has become a controversial subject. The possession of or lack of it determines the sides in revolutions, in wars that set out country on another, in an age when the miracle of man's existence has been rudely shunted out of mind by reverence for material possessions. Man has replaced hope and love and peace of mind with despair and hate and confusion by switching his worship from God to dollars. Money has become an end in itself, and any means of accumulating wealth becomes justified because of that end. Bleak, indeed, is the prospect of the man who reaches the highest pinnacle of wealth and sees its futility. He cannot buy peace of mind, nor stay his body from aging, nor stop death. And he comes at last to wrestling with his soul, if indeed his years of ignoring that soul have not withered it away. Myths of materialism. Abundance and prosperity are true spiritual conditions and are desirable and just for all men. But the pursuit of money for money itself is both senseless and degrading to the spirit, for it ignores the destiny of man. Our modern social structure of almost complete interdependence causes each of us to lean heavily on his daily supplies of money to provide food and shelter and the comforts of life, things that most of us are not equipped to obtain in any other fashion than through the use of money. Money becomes our staff of life. Our security rests upon it, and we overlook the eternal truth that security always lies within. In America, we have foisted upon succeeding generations of children the myth of the go-getter and the legend of the millionaire, and we have done each generation a great disservice. The myth of the go-getter is rooted in the philosophy of dog eat dog and survival of the fittest, and millionaires are all too often the product of an acquisitive society. The go-getter is a result of materialism which believes there is limited supply and not enough to go around, and each man has to provide for himself by taking from others. The millionaire is the product of the same materialism that attempts to create security through possessions. Each of these phenomena of our modern age defeats itself. A man whose premise for success is founded on taking away is inevitably visiting upon himself this same kind of treatment. A man whose security is founded on material possessions is doomed to see his security corrode and rust and wither away, leaving him with nothing but confusion. Spake Jesus, "Lay not up treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." The yardstick of success. Let money measure your service. Let your thoughts be always on the further service you can be to your fellows, and you will find their gratitude coming back to you in the form of money. Perhaps not from the persons you have served, but return it will, for that is the law. take your satisfaction from service. Constantly seek to expand and improve it. Take no thought for the money, which is always the result of service, and you will find yourself involved in an abundance that is unshakable, for it comes from the roots of the soul. Prosperity is founded on the law of mutual exchange. So is poverty. Whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so unto them, said Jesus. For he saw the great exchange of all life, and he knew that one who contributed to impoverishment must be impoverished in turn, and one who contributed to prosperity must prosper himself. So it is that what you give, you must get. What you sell, you must buy. What you think, you must say, and all things return home once again. If we want money, it is because we want the service of others. If we want the service of others, we must provide them with equal service in return. Our success is measured always in the quality and quantity of service we render, and money is a yardstick for measuring this service. A very fallible one it is, true, but a yardstick nonetheless. Perhaps you're calling to mind instances of people who have been enriched through swindles and through violence and through false promises. Do not be tricked into believing this. Nothing is judged on the day of its appearance, and nothing corrupt can stand. Prosperity based on falsehood is false prosperity, and will wither before many a sun. The lasting wealth of this world is rightfully won by those who have rendered service in equal measure. Such money is not taken away from anyone. It represents but a fraction of what has been created. The man who has surrounded himself with a lasting prosperity has enriched the whole world through his efforts. There is no limit to the abundance that can be created out of the limitless universal subconscious mind, and such abundance is available to all. No man can enrich himself without enriching others, for the law of life is that we do not progress singly, but by twos and threes and groups. And whosoever provides a great service cannot avoid a great reward, any more than one who provides no service at all can avoid a condition of poverty. Power is creativeness. Money then is never an end, never a means. Always it represents service only, for it is never more than a medium of exchange, and we can no more stop it coming our way when we are rendering service than we can start it coming our way when we are not rendering service. Above all things, dispense with the idea of getting the best of people. Each of us is like a pole in the flow of electric current. We absolutely cannot receive more current than we transmit, and always get back exactly what we send out. For moments in our lives, days, even months, we may seem to be giving more than we are receiving, or receiving more than we are giving, but in the end, the flow always balances. We never get the better of anything, nor are we ever dealt the worst. There are no bargains in living, nor is anyone duped except by himself. Mutual exchange is always with us. It is life itself, and he who recognizes this will spend his hours developing his capacity to serve and build and create and give. Whosoever compels thee to go a mile, said Jesus, go with him twain. No service that you perform can possibly go unrewarded, and no disservice that you perform can possibly go unpunished. The law of mutual exchange is the law of morality, of sin and punishment, of righteousness and reward. How best can we serve? The answer is by creating, never by competing. We serve neither ourselves nor humanity by competing for another man's job, another manufacturer's market, another man's business. We serve by creating new jobs, new markets, new means, new methods. The magic that makes each of us what he is springs from an inexhaustible source. We are creative creatures, umbilically tied to the creative power of God. We create by our thoughts, miraculously, each moment of every day. Beneath the level of our consciousness, there lies an infinite pool of knowledge upon which we may draw for every project we have the courage to embark upon. Always, God gives threads to those who spin a web, and he smiles on those who dare and aspire. No man is denied this creative power. It is the foundation, the root, the very essence of each of us. By working with it, we are carried to dazzling heights. By opposing it, we wither our lives in endless rounds of futility. A quote by Andersen. The secret which every intellectual man quickly learns, that beyond the energies of his possessed and conscious intellect, he is capable of a new energy, as of intellect doubled upon itself, by abandonment to the nature of things. That beside his privacy of power as an individual man, there is a great public power upon which he can draw, by unlocking at all risks his human doors, and suffering the ethereal tides to roll and circulate through him. Then he is caught up into the life of the universe. His speech is thunder, his thought is law, and his words are universally intelligible to plants and animals. End quote. The Wonderful Bank. I often engage in buying and selling oil properties, and occasionally someone will ask, how do you figure you're rendering creative service when people sometimes buy oil properties from you without realizing a return on their investment? I usually answer, everyone gains in some manner. All men benefit from the development of the petroleum industry through heating, transportation, plastics, to name only a few, and the interchange of oil lands is an integral part in the creation of the vast reservoir of petroleum that is so essential to our modern life. True, there are those who prosper more than others, but this is a law of life, and nothing can alter it. No one fails, but another forges ahead. Nothing is lost, nothing wasted. We all fulfill the fondest wish of God when we take part in activities that creates new wealth, new methods, new gains for mankind. During my years in the advertising business, I once had a client who sought new customers in an intensely competitive market. His answer was to cut prices to the danger point and employ great hordes of salesmen who used every possible ruse to sell. Despite the most frantic of his energies, his sales continued to decline. Look here, he said, I'm just as smart as my competitors. I work harder than any of them, yet people buy their products, not mine. What's the answer? Do you like cheap imitations? He was asked. Of course not, he answered. Then what leads you to believe your customers do? I never said they did, he protested. But you act like it. You make a product just like Jones, only not quite as good, so you can sell it cheaper. You don't expand because you don't aspire. You need something new, something you yourself have created. That's easy to say, he answered, but what? Only you can find the answer. There's a great creative power that will work through you. Try opening your heart and mind to your inner self. How? He asked. Through prayer. This man must have found a direct wire to God. Whenever a new product is introduced in the drug and grocery stores of the nation, chances are it is his. Needless to say, he is a leader in his field. Recently, he was asked about the secret of his success. I have a wonderful bank, he replied. All the deposits are ideas. Whenever I want one, I simply draw it out. Unmasking the ego. Life is seeking to achieve, By seeking for achievement in our own lives, we make ourselves one with the purpose of the universe and become caught up in unrolling tides of unlimited power. And always we achieve by creating. Always we achieve by cloistering ourselves with universal subconscious mind, by seeking the center of consciousness, by becoming one with God and getting ourselves out of the way. The thing we believe ourselves to be is never ourselves at all, but merely a papier-mâché gown as we have donned and pleased ourselves to call I. This is ego. Tricky, despoiling ego, product of the awakening consciousness, which is always attempting to isolate us, to separate us from our true being. We wear a mask of vanity, this I of ours, and before we can truly learn to create, this mask must slip away. The ego must go. Vanity must go. We must strip ourselves of all pretension, of all vain posturing and humbuggery, of all personal responsibility and conceit and pride. We must reduce ourselves to nothing so that we have eyes to see at last, eyes to see the towering dimensions of our true being, a thing of no vanity at all, where all things lie revealed, the center of consciousness, the kingdom of heaven. We must get ourselves out of the way so the power can flow through. So success depends upon service, and service depends upon achievement, and achievement depends upon creation, and all creation springs from the universal subconscious mind, which responds to us as we use it. How then shall we be creative? We are, of course, all of us, already tied to the greatest creative power under the sun. We are using this creative power every moment of our lives. Indeed, we do little else than create. Yet all too often, we are using the power in such a manner as to bring evil and disaster into our lives, and more often than not, we have become so mesmerized with fear and frustration that we reduce our existence to mockery. The question is not how we can be creative, but instead, how can we learn to create only good? Imagination and creation. Universal subconscious mind protrudes through every conscious mind in the form of what we are pleased to call imagination. This play of imagery, which we may summon into our conscious minds, has absolutely no limit upon it except that which we ourselves impose. All creative impulse spring from imagination. The imagination of Columbus allowed him to ask, "What if the world were round?" Universal subconscious mind did the rest, and one day Columbus found himself sailing westward on a sea which everyone said was flat. "What if a man could fly?" asked Orville Wright, and Universal Mind provided him with the answer one day at Kitty Hawk. It is the undreamed, the undone, the impossible, which like itself is constantly striving to achieve. Only an unfettered mind, where imagination has full play, has the audacity to challenge the impossible. What if I could make it cheaper? What if I could do it better? The imagination conceives, and the universal subconscious mind delivers. Men conquer disease, build great towers and bridges, provide transport by gasoline and diesel engine, light cities with invisible power, send pictures and voices through the air, whiz from one continent to the other via machines that travel through space. And all because the audacious imagination has dared to suppose these things were possible. All of them, every major advance made by humanity when first conceived, inspired laughter and derision on the part of vast numbers of people who would rather be little and blind and smug than big and humble and visionary. It matters not what your job is, whether you dig ditches or rule nations. The same power is available to you as is available to anyone, and even the most exalted of the earth use but a tiny fraction of it. If you will discard the false notion that security rests with material things and place your faith and trust in universal subconscious mind, the power will go to work for you, creating in your life those very things which you allow yourself to imagine and accept. Consider the lilies of the field, said Jesus. They toil not, neither do they spin. Vain striving made them not, nor will worry, hurry their bloom. They spring well formed from the power that governs all, and man may pursue his ends on earth with the same composure as a lily nestles in the field, with trust in God and faith in tomorrow. Join the power. Nothing remains static. The great rhythms of life, of birth and death, of ebb and flow, of bud and bloom, are all reaching, searching, building, expanding. God seeks to know. Through man, he seeks an ever greater self-awareness. He who attunes himself with the expanding nature of life makes himself one with the purposes of God, and success will surely come to him. Success, then, comes to him whose life is creative, and true creation brings forth into the material world the physical counterparts of thoughts, ideas, and conceptions aimed at the benefit of the human race. Through opening the channels by which universal subconscious mind may operate through us, we arrange all things in our world. Said Lao Tse, these two things, the spiritual and the material, though we call them by different names in their origin, are one and the same. To be successful, we must think success. To be surrounded by prosperity, we must think prosperity. But the prerequisite of both these conditions is to put our great creative power to use through the love of God and the love of humanity. Thus we benefit others, and life itself and our good works return home to us in the form of success and prosperity. And nothing is done by man alone. All things are done by universal subconscious mind in answer to thought and conception. What you think returns to you in physical reality, and when your thoughts are guided by love, good inevitably returns to you. Turning your work over to God, letting love into your heart through perceiving the unity of all life, guarding the bastions of the mind so as to think only positively, these are the elements of success. Quote by Andersen. With the key to the secret he marches faster, from strength to strength, and for night brings day. While classes and tribes too weak to master, the flowing conditions of life give way. End quote. The source of all idea. Primary on the ladder of achievement is the first rung, getting the idea. How often we are witness in this modern age to a new invention, a sweeping novel, revolutionary businesses, new forms of entertainment, education, and convenience. How often most of us say to ourselves, if only I could have thought of that. And how often we believe we might have if only chance had directed the idea our way. Chance has nothing to do with directing great ideas to the people who have them. The idea finds its owner because the owner attracts it. He attracts it by placing himself in a mental position where the idea must come to him. He does this by removing from his mind all barriers as to what can or can't be done, all negative thoughts concerning limitation and lack, and he puts his trust in universal subconscious mind, confident that it will deliver the answer if he has but the courage to pose the question. Something better, greater, finer, more useful. Those are the creative aims of all of us, but we spend most of our hours placing ourselves in mental positions that attract the very opposite ideas. So firm is our faith in limitation, lack, and suffering. The greatest men in the world use the exact same power as the Aborigine in darkest Africa, and the great man has no more claim on this power than the Aborigine. The power is equally available to all, and it works in the life of each man according to his vision and understanding. Be assured that Einstein has no more access to this power than you, nor did Jesus. You need only open your heart, become possessed by love, Free yourself from the limits of racial thinking and pain remembrance, and the power will flow through. It will deliver to you anything you can ask for with faith and courage and clear conception. Free yourself to ask the aspiring question with complete confidence that the answer will come. Will you write a book, build a bridge, develop a new market, start your own business, attain a better job, develop your capability for rendering increased service? Ask Universal Subconscious Mind, how can I do this? Rest assured that the answer will come. Don't struggle with it. Don't snarl and doubt and wonder and fret. Simply have confidence. In a day, a week, a month, the answer will come clearly, as if a voice had spoken in your soul. Some little thing, perfectly matter of fact, will lead to its being revealed to you, and it will be easy to say that pure chance delivered it, or that it would have come anyway, so natural will it seem. But don't be fooled. What Universal Subconscious Mind manifests in this world is always easily attributable to physical causes, but no one has ever been able to trace such a chain of cause and effect to anything other than the eternal source. When the answer comes to your question and a fine idea has been delivered into your life, you are witness to the handiwork of God. If you are wise, you will take a moment to regard this miracle with awe and humbleness. Getting the idea simply involves opening your mind and heart to attract it with complete trust that it will be delivered to you by Universal Subconscious Mind. Remain steadfast in your faith. The idea will come. Unloosing the deluge. Don't make the mistake of expecting that the idea will be delivered to you refined and tooled and ready for instant use. When the idea comes, it will be rough-hewed, general, and will require patient examination and refinement. Your purpose, then, must be to reduce the idea to its leanest, most beautiful, most utilitarian form. Come to complete understanding of the aim of the idea, and you will see the form take shape. Such mental vision was possessed by Michelangelo when he said, "In every block of stone there lurks a perfect form, and in every idea, rough-hewed though it be, there lies a perfect expression. Seek for this expression, and it will come to you. Do not be satisfied with less. Through examination, meditation, your conception will become clear and gradually will filter down below the level of consciousness impregnating Universal Subconscious Mind. The greater your faith, the clearer your image, the more readily it is impressed upon the subconscious, and the sooner it will be returned to you in the physical world. If your idea was conceived in love, for service, for advancement, for building, for creating, then abundance and success will be yours when it becomes manifest. You need not drive yourself, rush about, hurry, or worry. Your action will be guided by Universal Mind, and all the things that you need for final success will be directed into your path, even as you are directed toward them. So your tools will come, so will your workers, so finally will all the organization and help you need. Opportunity will eventually knock on your door, ring your telephone, greet you in the mails, visit you in the lunchroom, seek you at work and play and rest, so that you will wonder what deluge has been unloosed. Those who work in tune with God have an unseen army aiding them. A quote by Andersen: "Draw if thou canst the mystic line, severing rightly his from thine, which is human, which divine." End of quote. Every man's asset, work. Whatever we set out to do, whether in the arts or sciences, whether in manufacturing, farming, distribution, or education, must aid in the production and dissemination of goods and services that benefit the physical, mental, and spiritual welfare of society. Any other aim is error, is illusion, is therefore evil, and will return evil to us sooner or later. Thus, man who aspires to success must set out to benefit others, According to how he succeeds in this, both achievement and prosperity are his. In the complex economics of our modern world, the common asset of every man is his work, and he is rewarded according to how his labors benefit society. A great benefit has a great reward. A small benefit has a small reward. Realizing that productive land is limited and must eventually fall into the hands of the few, the benevolent state increasingly strives to place the premium on labor instead of ownership. Depending on how fairly this is done, economic freedom continues to be enjoyed even when land frontiers cease to expand. It is such a society that we live in today, one which is gradually achieving a fine moral temper by de-emphasizing acquisitiveness and emphasizing productivity. Today, the premium is on labor, the capacity to produce. Outside the arts and sciences and personal services, most of us take our part in the production and distribution of goods. Work and the enjoyment of the fruits of our labors, such as the cycle of our material lives, and by developing our capacities for creation and production and service, our labors bear us increasing fruits. No one was ever successful at an undertaking when driven into it against his will. No one can rise to the pinnacle of his profession if he detests his job and begrudges every hour spent at it. But don't start casting around for a different job or a change of scenery. No matter how far you travel or what changes of scenery you encounter, you still take yourself with you. The seed of success blossoms as well in any surrounding, provided a man knows himself and the power of universal subconscious mind. It is never the job that needs to be changed. It is the person holding it. He needs to change his attitude, his mental outlook, to start thinking positively and creatively instead of negatively and begrudgingly. All of us, wherever we are, whatever our jobs, are sitting atop great opportunities this very day, but they assuredly will pass us by if we keep our minds closed to them. We need to get rid of negation, to open our hearts and our minds to realize that the entire universe is moving forward at a great pace. We have only to hitch a ride and let the power carry us along. We have only to get our fears and doubts and negations and timidities out of the way, and burgeoning forces will carry us onward. Quoth Shakespeare, "There is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries." End quote. Such a tide does not come but once like a proverbial opportunity, but rolls forever through all life and all nature and is always at the flood. It may be omitted through the major years of man's life, but will never run away from him once he appeals to it. It is the tide of power that flows forever from universal subconscious mind. It is never too late. Never. The most prodigal and tardy of sons is always welcome to the Father who dwelleth within. Young, middle-aged, 70, the power will go to work for you this very day. You need only let it. The hobgoblin of failure. As with all things, prosperity and achievement are mental conditions, and their physical existence is merely a result of the cause that exists within mind. In order to achieve, you must first think achievement. In order to create, you must first think creatively. In order to prosper, you must first think prosperity. Since few of us are in the situations we most desire, we have no alternative, if we would achieve our goals, than to rise above our circumstance. We must not allow our thinking to be governed by the conditions that surround us. Confusion is the hobgoblin of all failure. Confusion between what constitutes a cause and what constitutes a result. Our racial prompters, our national prompters, our social prompters, our individual pain remembrance prompters would have us believe that cause lies in the physical world. When we are surrounded by poverty, we think poverty. When we are surrounded by disease, we think disease. When we are surrounded by failure, we think failure. When we are surrounded by hate, we think hate. Thus we become automatons, victims of circumstance, reflexive organisms instead of self-determining souls. Do not be confused between the physical, which is always a result, and the mental, which is always a cause. Refuse to let stance grow into the image of your thought. He who discovers the center of consciousness, the kingdom of heaven, always remains untouched by the world about him. His foundation rests in eternity, and the apparent disasters and evils of the world brush lightly from him. The words of Jesus are his. Before Abraham was, I am. Desire and destiny. It is a difficult thing to convince people that destiny and desire are the same thing, but there remains not the slightest doubt but what this is so. Confusion comes because people believe that desire is wishing or hoping or envying. A man will say, why, I've desired to be a writer all my life and I've never had anything published, nor even come close to it. We might ask then, what have you written? And be assured that his answer will be, well, I've started quite a few things, but I can't ever seem to finish them. He doesn't desire to be a writer. He actually desires not to be a writer. He is so convinced of failure that his escape mechanism prompts him never to finish anything so that he won't have to suffer the fear of having it rejected. Desire always springs from emotion, and emotion is what impresses a conception on universal subconscious mind. People are forever adopting attitudes that are in direct contradiction to their emotions, simply because they want another face to present to the world. They go to great lengths to preserve this face, some of them even winding up in institutions for the insane, but they do absolutely nothing about changing their feelings. Beneath a level of consciousness, their desires are all aimed at negative things, through fear, hate, or insecurity, even though the face they show to the world seems pleasant and aspiring. We know them and find them wherever we go. They are our brave little martyrs, long-suffering, our good people whom fate seems to delight in dealing blow after blow. They are not to be chastised or scorned. They would help themselves if they could. They simply do not know how. Do not confuse true desire with the defensive mechanisms of your conscious mind. Know yourself. Lay bare the bones of your feelings. Expose them, no matter the pain or suffering or humility involved. For only when your hurts and griefs and torments and fears have been cast away can you find your true being and see the nature of the power that flows forever through the depths of your soul. A quote by William James. Individuality is founded in feeling, and the recesses of feeling, the darker, blinder strata of character, are the only places in the world in which we watch real fact in the making and directly perceive how events happen and how work is actually done. End quote. The false face. Desire and destiny, mind and matter, the thought and the circumstances are all one and the same. What you truly desire to be beneath the level of consciousness, you will be. Nothing in the world can change this face except changing your subconscious desire. By meditation, by positive thinking, by coming finally to full recognition of how you inevitably shape your own fate. By the very nature of your affinity with universal subconscious mind, it is impossible for you to have a true desire that does not manifest in your life. No man can know himself by examining the surface of his mind, for this is his front, the face he shows the world, the mask he has donned to hide his hurts and sufferings and shames and fears and chastisements. To truly know yourself, you must look first at your life, objectively. The things that surround you, the circumstances you are involved in, these have sprung from your subconscious desires. It will avail you nothing to protest that this is not so. Facing this irrevocable fact requires humility and very often considerable emotional suffering. But face it, you must if you are to change your subconscious desires and thus change the world about you. Take the case of the man who failed 3 times in business. "I can't make a go of it, and I can't understand it," he said. "Each time people have been clamoring for the product has been a good one. I've been one of the first in the field, but each time I've fallen by the wayside while others have gone on to fortunes." "Did your failures surprise you?" he was asked. "No," he answered immediately. "I've never been able to make a success of anything." It would have been unkind at that moment to point out to this man that he actually desired failure, but that was his situation exactly. A little probing at his family history revealed that his father had been a very successful man, a particular stern and violent man who had terrified his son in infancy. The son's entire life had been an attempt to escape competition with his father. He was subconsciously afraid of his father, afraid of incurring his wrath if he met him on an equal plane. Thus he was afraid to succeed in business, desired failure as a subconscious means of soothing what he fancied would be his father's displeasure if he were to succeed. Psychiatry might have set him straight on this aspect of his life, and indeed it was considered, for he had a difficult time with meditation and was almost incapable of any prolonged period of positive thinking. But he persevered. Today he heads one of the most promising firms in the country, takes on innumerable tasks, all successfully, and no longer seems able to understand the man he was 3 years before. "I've got it now," he says. "It's viewpoint, all a matter of the way you look at it." We might smile at this apparent oversimplification, but the truth is always simple to one who understands. Slaves and masters. The world is full of people who put the power of the subconscious to beneficial work in one aspect of their lives, but use it destructively in all others. Men are healthy but poor, wealthy but sick, creative but unhappy, powerful but unloved, and always in such cases they use the power unknowingly, without control, having built habit patterns of positive thinking in certain lines and patterns of negative thinking in others. Only in one tiny orbit of their lives are they masters. In all others, they are slaves. The power must work in all aspects of a man's life before he finds peace of mind and security. It is a small thing when it works in the realm of prosperity alone. Said Jesus, "What is a man profited if he gain the whole world and never find his own soul?" Indeed, the vanity and egocentricity that usually accompany wealth and social position make it increasingly difficult for a man to attain the humility and lovingness necessary for the discovery of the center of consciousness. Jesus pointed this out when he said, "It is easier for a camel to go through the eyes of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven." Riches beget vanity, and vanity is a bar on the door. Yet if a man will first discover the center of consciousness, abundance and achievement will fill his life, and he will truly understand that it has not been produced by his inconceivably small eye, but by the power of universal subconscious mind. Seek first the center of consciousness, all else will follow. Success comes from successful thinking, which comes from inner poise and spiritual courage, which comes from a man's discovery of the eternal self that dwells within his body. "With yet not I must be about my Father's business," becomes the motivation of his life. No aspiration is too high, no task too great, for he sees the grandeur he is caught up in, understands all things are possible to the power that dwells within. The seed and the harvest. Hard work is the boogaboo of success for most of us. We see the immensity of our contemplated task even before we begin them. Imagination is both our blessing and our curse. Through it we perceive our aspiration, and through it is revealed the long road that sets us to despair. We have not yet learned that all paths must be trod step by step, whether they lead to the pinnacle of the highest mountain or to the top of a gentle slope. Nor have we learned that the fruits of today are always the seeds of yesterday. Dink Templeton, now an astounding radio and newspaper sports commentator, once led Stanford University to some of its greatest victories in track and field, both as competitor and coach. Dink used to say to his teams, "It doesn't matter what you do the night before a track meet. What matters is what you've done the 6 months before." Dink made certain his teams were prepared when they took the field. His remarkable record was no accident. Each day of your life, you are sowing seeds that one day you must harvest. When you have come to truly understand this, you will take your satisfaction from your work and never from your harvest. For the sowing of the seed is all any of us does in his life. The shoot, the bud, and the flower are all the work of the universal subconscious mind. No goal is too distant, no path too arduous when we take the journey step by step. Withdraw your mind from the seemingly impossible summit and turn your attention to the step to be taken today. Our steps through life are chains of cause and effect, and each step successfully taken delivers the next one to us with greater ease until in the end the final goal is ours. No man can be happy, efficient, creative at his work when he is unhappy with his situation and lives for another day. All of us are too prone to postpone our living until some nebulous time when our ship will come in. Nothing is so apt to inject dissatisfaction into our lives as this wasteful attitude toward the most perishable of all things we know, time. Today, this very day, is the most important time of all. For what we do today determines what we will be tomorrow. Therefore, turn all your attention to your labors of the moment. Absorb yourself. Take your satisfactions from each thing you do, however humble in your own mind. Nothing is small or petty in this life. The massive door of a vault swings on the apex of a tiny jewel, and men have become great through learning how to do well the lowliest of jobs. Making hard work easy. There are no such things as hard work and easy work. There are only repugnant work and enjoyable work. If you would make work easy, then enjoy it. Whatever you enjoy unlooses a creative power that enables you to do it well. A job done well leads to a greater job, and then still a greater, until your dreams springs from mind to join you in the world. Success comes to him who builds his house with unremitting purpose, stone by stone, taking as great care with the first as he does with the last, knowing always that the most important stone is the one he lays at the moment. Inherent in every cause is its exact result, for effect is nothing but cause moving through space and time. When we have learned life's great lesson that cause and effect are one, we have achieved that pinnacle of serenity where our labors always bears fruits of enjoyment. Anxiety, worry, fear, and doubt can no longer tempt us, for having set cause in motion, we are assured of effect. Hard work is made easy work through knowing that none of our labors is wasted. The universe exacts the utmost farthing, but also returns the utmost farthing, for mutual exchange is the law. No matter the apparent thanklessness of your tasks, you can be assured that they are part of a purpose that will one day be fully revealed, a purpose grand and aspiring, which you become a part of when you keep faith and persevere. As Emerson wrote, "No fate save by the victim's fault is low." No man is deterred from the great and good ends of life unless he warps his own God expression through negative thinking and fear. No task is too great for one who leaves his plan in the hands of universal subconscious mind and concerns himself solely with his day's work. Inch by inch, foot by foot, step by step is the kind of progress life itself makes. Lasting success is evolved slowly, just as it requires a longer time to lay the foundations of a building that will tower into the sky. The satisfactions of the journey are always to be found on the way. and never at the destination. He who has learned this has learned the secret of peace of mind. Let your work be an expression of your love. Thus will you render true service. Wrote Khalil Gibran. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge. And all urge is blind, save when there is knowledge. And all knowledge is vain, save when there is work. And when you work with love, you bind yourself to yourself, and to one another, and to God. All labor of love is not labor at all, but joyous self-fulfillment. Good works are simply love expressing itself, and a man whose heart is full of love reckons not the support of the flesh in the sweat of his brow, nor does he curse his hours of labor, nor begrudge his appointed tasks. Through his love of life, he sees in all work the opportunity to serve, and serve he does, and fulfills himself and God. The reckoning scales. The universe commands self-fulfillment and never self-sacrifice. He who destroys his own life for some fancied thing acts through vanity and destroys a work that God has wrought. Through each of us, God has become a unique thing, and by following the nature of our being to fulfillment, we have fulfilled the fondest commandment of life. We have neither the knowledge nor the authority to decide that anything merits our own destruction. For it is no less evil to destroy ourselves than it is to destroy another. Self-sacrifice of our immortal soul, the universal self, we can never do without acting against the purposes of life. But self-sacrifice of the vain I, the ego, the isolated self we all must do eventually, for only when the ego goes can the immortal self peer through. Wise is the man who strives for fulfillment of the great self that dwells within him. To this end he will make any sacrifice, but he will never sacrifice the self or his knowledge of the self. All his aims will be at ridding himself of ego, at achieving unity with the universal subconscious mind, at communion with the center of consciousness. Thus success will come, thus prosperity. Review. 1. Success is not the result of making money. Making money is the result of success. 2. Abundance and prosperity are spiritual conditions. 3. Success is service, and money is a measure of it. 4. The law of mutual exchange is the law of receiving what we give. 5. We serve best by creating and never by competing. 6. All creation springs from universal subconscious mind, which responds to us as we use it. 7. Imagination is a projection of universal mind, is therefore creative. 8. To use the creative power of universal subconscious mind with love is the foundation of success. 9. All ideas spring from universal mind and are delivered to him who seeks them. He has only to ask the aspiring question and listen patiently for the answer. 10. Accepted ideas filter down into the subconscious, move it to creation, become manifest in the world. 11. Productivity is the true measure of success. Acquisitiveness belongs to the materialist who deludes himself. 12. All successful labor is performed with love. 13. The successful man refuses to be discouraged by circumstance. He knows that first cause lies within and never outside. 14. Subconscious desire determines our fate, and we may change subconscious desire by positive thinking and faith. 15. All things come to a man who knows his center of consciousness. 16. Hard work is work performed without love. With love, all work is easy. 17. A tower must be built stone by stone, so must a man's life. 18. Success lies in this, in fulfilling the self that dwells within. Free your mind from all limitation, lack, and pain remembrance. God who dwells within you is working out a plan of grandeur. When you allow His plan to work through you, creation, achievement, prosperity, and success are yours, and peace of mind, which no mortal goods can buy. Recommended reading: The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, published by Alfred A. Knopf. Ninth meditation. The infinite creative power of universal subconscious mind lies within me. I attune myself, remove all barriers from my thought, become receptive to the purpose of God. I know that my life is great and good when I perform services with love. The right ideas are delivered to me. I accept them, and subconscious mind provides me with the means of bringing them into my world. I know that all things spring from universal mind, which is infinitely abundant. Lack and limitation are errors of thinking, and I banish them from my consciousness. There can be no lack. I need only let universal mind express itself through me, and my world is filled with creativeness and achievement and prosperity. My goals will be delivered to me, for they will be the goals of God, who never fails. Whatever my task, I perform it with love, for I know that when I serve another, I serve the purposes of a greater design. All about me, I see the law of mutual exchange. Therefore, I give as I would receive. I know that abundance and prosperity are mental conditions. I create them on the plane of mind with complete trust and confidence that they will manifest in my life. I refuse to accept undesirable circumstance as having final reality. First cause is mental and is never found in the world about me. A mighty truth is at the center of my consciousness, where no work is difficult, where peace always reigns, where all things are possible. I know that life is a journey which must be traveled step by step, and I am patient, enjoying the wonder of the way, with unshakable faith in my destination. I submit my will, knowing that success will come when I fulfill the indwelling self. End of chapter 9. Alright, my dear one, this has been wonderful. If you haven't done so, please do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and head over to the next video where I will be there with the next chapter titled Health.